So I've got a problem down here in the basement. At my water heater, I've noticed that it's got a leak. And that means that any day now it's going to break and going to flood my basement. So I can tell that because there's water here on the floor. Just a little bit at first, just enough to let me know that its days are numbered. So I'm going to replace it. I hooked a hose to the bottom. I turned the valve to the left, and that starts to drain the water heater. Now, before doing that, of course, I turned off the water input to the water heater. You can do that with the valve on top. You'll see that here with the red handle, I closed it. That's where the water comes in. Also, I shut off the power. That's very important. You don't want to get electrocuted standing in the basement in the water. So, by doing that, the simplest way to do it is just to go over and find the electric panel, and you'll find that there is a breaker usually, and that's my new water heater there. I've got a new water heater from Home Depot that I'm going to replace, and it turns out it's pretty much like the old one. Here we are at the panel. We're looking at the water heater, 30 amp breaker. There's usually always a 30 amp breaker in a house. And make sure that thing is turned off and the power is dead. Normally I would double check it at the water heater, except I know for sure in my case that that's the circuit to the water heater because I've checked it before. Now I know the water heater's dead. I go back through this mess in the basement, and I'm going back over here to the water heater. I'm going to disconnect these pipes on top, starting with the hot water coming in. I'm going to do that by turning these connectors. This is PEX. They have metal PEX connectors at the end, and the connectors will actually turn in the pipe without me having to do anything. And there's where I'm going to disconnect my electric. This is very important to make sure that this ground wire is put back together when you are done, because that's what grounds the whole thing, keeps you from dying. And in my case, I'm going to be able to reuse this whole piece on the other water heater because it fits perfectly on the new water heater. So I disconnect these wires. We've got a black and red coming from the water heater and a black and white from the wire coming in. Save the screws. Always save all your screws because you never know what you're going to lose. Now I'm going to look at it here for a second, and I'm going to get myself some pliers, and I'm going to start disconnecting. Hopefully all the water's out of the system at this point, or I'll notice it real quick. The connector is turning inside the white plastic PEX, which is an amazing thing that happens here with PEX, because I can turn this connector and it still won't leak when it's put back together. Now I've got them both disconnected. I've taken off this overflow. That just goes to the floor. It's supposed to go down to within 6 inches of the floor so that if the steam ever blows off, it doesn't go into somebody's face. Now I got this disconnected, and I'm going to go and get to my box and spend about 10 minutes getting it out of the new box and replacing the water heater. It's not very heavy once all the water's out of it. It's easy to walk out of the way. I'm going to get a little saw, and I'm going to cut this box up so that I can get the new water heater out. Changing a water heater is not really a difficult process unless you break something or something cracks. and you have to go fix it and run off to the store to buy parts. In this case, it's pretty simple. Out with the old and in with the new, if I ever get it out of this box. This whole process really was quite quick. I was surprised how easy it was and how quick it was, because I already had the new water heater in the basement, thanks to a friend who helped me carry it down there. And we're going to put the new water heater in place, and we just put it back together here, if the box doesn't beat me. Putting the new one right back where the old one was. Everything's going to fit. And there she be. Now we're going to put our pipes back together. It'll be interesting to see if these things do leak or not when I put them back together. I've turned those things quite a bit, turned those PEX connectors inside the PEX. I've turned them quite a bit. They still are hard to turn, which means they still probably are sealed. But you never know till you do it. So I'm going to put this little pipe on the overflow. I just cut it short because I'm going to make a longer piece to go down later on to the ground. I'm going to put some white Teflon tape on, putting the tape on in such a way that when I screw it together, it tightens the Teflon onto the screws. That way it'll make a good connection. This whole job was really done with a screwdriver and a pair of pliers. Wasn't too difficult at all. Oh, and a little saw to get it out of the box, because I didn't have a box cutter knife. There we go, there's one. Now we're going to put the other two together. Yep, if I figure out where I'm at. I'm putting some tape on this connection before I screw it back together. And what happened was I didn't have quite enough tape on this, and I got a tiny little leak at the end, just like a drop. And I don't want anything to come out of there, because the water would run down into the water heater on top of it and rust it out eventually. So I had to make sure, and I had to redo this one. But basically it was easy. I disconnected it, put more tape on it, put it back together and tightened it, and again, the PEX held, it didn't leak. I love PEX. I know there's a lot of people that have a lot of different ways to wire stuff, but I've seen it when it's totally frozen solid, and then when it thaws out, it works perfectly with no leaks. As long as it doesn't crack one of the fittings in the process of freezing, the PEX itself will withstand being frozen solid without destroying it. I used to inspect houses in North Carolina, and when I would go in the morning, they would be frozen solid. And the pressure gauge would be well up over 200. That would be my first indication that it was frozen solid. And I would just come back after lunch and look at it again. And at that time, the pressure gauge would be right down to 100, perfect. And I went through several houses afterwards to see if anything had been damaged or if there was any leakage. And I never found a leak anywhere. PEX has proven to me to be incredible stuff. Here we are, we're going to tighten up all the connections now. And then we'll hook up the wires. Now we got to get the screws together. And we're going to hook up the electric. The wire coming in is a piece of Romex. It has black and white, and it's 220 volts. That means the white is one leg of the 220. I'm going to hook it to the red and black in the water heater because it's a 230 volt water heater. They're using, in this case, they're using the white as a hot wire. Normally, you would probably want to mark that white wire with a little black tape so that you know, or the future electrician would know that it's a hot wire. But I seem to think if you're this far and you don't know that white wire is a hot wire at this point, you would probably be better off not doing it. You see my wife coming in here now to tell me she's bringing me a donut. So that's my pay for this job. And she's off now to get me a donut. If I get the job done fast enough, I can eat it. I know this is an exciting part of the video, so if you get too excited, you can pause it, take a break, breathe deeply, and get yourself together again, and we'll finish the video afterwards. There we go. I'm tightening the screws. If you think that all those PEX connections and that PEX that is run there over that water heater is a really sad-looking job, you're not alone. But it was put in originally 8 years ago in a hurry, in a blizzard, and I had to have some hot water, and I didn't care what it looked like. And now that it's in the basement, I still don't, because I only see it a few times a year. Now it's all connected. Everything's back up. The ground wire is connected. All the screws are in place. And we're going to see if it leaks. And the water's on. And the tank is filling. Now, I went upstairs and opened up the hot water up on the second floor so that it would drain faster. So now I have to run upstairs when it fills and shut those hot water valves off so that the water doesn't run all over the place. And at this point, I can see I've got one little tiny little leak there. So I got to shut it off. I'm going to once again drain the water down. This time I'm just going to drain the water down to the top of the water heater to that level so that I can take this apart and fix it with some new tape. You really don't want any tiny leak at all, because it would go down into that water heater and rust out the connection down there. And maybe not now, but soon, in a year or 2 or 3, you'd have a problem and be replacing the whole water heater. Now it seems like it's dry. It's not leaking anymore. So we're getting close to being done here. And that's pretty much it. It's all connected. It's all back up. I turned it on, and the water is getting hot. Can't ask for anything better. Floor will dry up pretty soon. And we are done. That took me about an hour to replace that water heater. I don't know what a plumber would have charged. I probably couldn't have paid it if he told me, so it all works out pretty good. Paid about $400 or so for the water heater in an hour's time, and I've got a brand new water heater for another 10 years. The last one lasted within 2 weeks of 10 years, which amazed me. It had a 6-year guarantee, and it lasted 10 years to the month. So if I get 10 years out of this one, I'll be very happy. I'll have to come by. That's it.